Hey, I'm Brianna. I'm the head honcho here at Bambi Media. This video you're about to watch is actually part of a larger Descript course that I've put together just for you. If you're a podcaster or a video creator, someone that wants to put a bunch of stuff on YouTube, you are creating courses, you are doing an audiobook, there's so many ways that you could potentially use all the information that I've put together in this course. So this video is a little snapshot as to what you would find inside. If it feels interesting to you, then you should click on the link and there'll be more information in the description below. It'll take you there. But if all you need right now is actually just this video, then that's also fine. No hard feelings from my end. I hope you enjoy the content and that it's really helpful for you. In this video, we're going to go through just quickly how to export out of Descript. What are the settings that you need to make sure that you've clicked on, depending on whether you're going to do an audio or a video export. So actually, and there's also some other things that you can export as well. So we're going to just go up to the export area here on the top right. And you've got these options. You've got video, audio, timeline, transcript, or subtitles. You've also got different destinations. So you can have a Descript web link. You can go to local export, YouTube, Blueberry, and then all these other things as well. Now, I haven't had this work very well as far as, exporting straight to YouTube or Blueberry or, those things. That's all well and good, but you still need to do something on the other end. So as in it might start the export and then sometimes it's like you don't know whether it's actually fully exported or where it's at in the actual process. I don't actually think, I think these things are a little bit gimmicky. And I haven't found them to be that much of a time saver. So for me personally, what we always do is actually just go local export, because then that saves to our computer and then we can then upload from there wherever we're going to upload it to and do all the other things that we do in that upload process as well. So whether it's video, we upload it to YouTube and then at the same time we're putting in all the data that's needed in there and the show notes and all the things like the episode descriptions and the tags and scheduling and that stuff. So you still kind of need to do that. So to me, it's like, well, you got to export it somewhere, and I would prefer to have actual local copy on my computer and then do something from there. That's just me personally, but do know that you can export straight to a lot of those things that you see there. So for video, if you're going to local export, you would just go current composition. Now, here's the thing. If you wanted to just export like a portion of the episode that you're doing, maybe you're just wanting to check something or maybe you're just wanting a little grab that you do something with, you can actually change that to current scene or line breaks. So like this, for example, if I have a scene and I'm like, I just want to export that one scene, then I can do that. I can just click on that and then go export and then go just this scene, okay, or current selection. So if I go like this and I click this and then this, then it's only going to export what I've actually got selected there. And we have found that to be handy sometimes depending on what we're actually doing. Okay, so I've got one here up now that is something that I would potentially export. So I click on wherever, it doesn't matter where, and then I go export and then I go video, and you can change the name here if you want. So I'm going to keep this name as is. That name will be the same as what you've titled it up here. Okay, we go export and then we go video in this situation, local export, current composition. The resolution is max. So the max for this particular one is 1080p because we weren't recording in 4K. And then the quality is high. Okay, and it says recommended or low. So you can, if you're like trying to save space or it needs to be a small file for something, maybe you're uploading it to a video software that doesn't accept like large files, then you can crunch it here in Descript and do recommended or low. If you can spring for a higher quality, then that would always be my recommendation. So even though they say recommended, high would be my recommendation. If we go to advanced here, you can do a MP4 or a GIF. So it can turn a portion of it into a GIF, which is fun if you're wanting to, like if you have a Giphy account or you want to do something with that. Audio, you want to have stereo channels, 44.1, 128, and -16. That's just the standard. If you want an even higher quality audio, if you think that's going to make a difference for what you're actually recording, then 48 is a good sample rate, and you could go as high as 192. You could go to 256, but For me personally, there's not many situations where a voice, like as in something like this, where there's not a bunch of music and it's just some crappy, headphones, audio, and then some good quality microphones. To me, that's not worth actually increasing the sample rate and the bit rate, because you're not going to notice a substantial difference and it will actually just make the file bigger. So in most cases, 44.1 and 128 is fine for what you are trying to achieve. If we go to the metadata, this is where you can put some things in that will then be on the file. So if I put here, my show title is I Love Sandwiches, and then this is my episode 1, Vegemite or something. And then you can put a description in here, but I barely ever, in fact, I don't know if I've ever actually used that function there. Okay, and then include markers as chapters. Yes, that's a great idea. If you have got markers throughout your episode, your video, or whatever, and you want to make sure that they are actually embedded into the file, which can be good because some platforms actually take that metadata and will read those chapters and use them. So that is something that you could potentially use. But for me right now, I am not going to do that because I don't have any chapters. Disable hardware acceleration. So that is if your computer isn't very good and then you're like trying to make sure that it doesn't kind of wig out when you're exporting, you can click that on. I've never had to use that. Okay, so then you just hit export and it's going to ask you where you want to save it. It's going to put it somewhere and it's going to show you here exporting video and how long it takes. Now, if this is a long video file and you're in 4K, this is going to take you a substantial amount of time to export. So chill, depending on how good your computer is. I mean, if you have a not awesome computer, this will take you a very long time to do. And in fact, you might be like, oh man, that's not worth the time. I'm just going to do 1080p export. Then yeah, that would save you a bunch of time in that export phase. You don't realize how slow it's going to be until you start, especially if you're working with big, long files, it's a long episode or whatever, then yeah, you could be there quite a while. So just be aware of that. If we wanted to actually have this be a Descript export, you can do that. So that's a web link, max resolution, and then anyone with the link. Now, why would you potentially do that? So I've already done one like this. So it says update instead of export or publish. If you want to share this file with someone, okay, but you don't want to like download it from here and then upload it to Google Drive or something, and it's something that you want them to check, like maybe it's a client or something like that, then you can save a bit of time by exporting it here into the Descript web link. And you can see here there's actually then a copy link, and we can open the share page here as well. So then what you see has happened, if I just move myself around here, it's now exported that and it's rendering it onto a web page, which means that that link that you then have, you can share with other people to get them to check it. They can actually leave notes. Say like there's a little comment section here where they can be like, oh yeah, this is great, except maybe get rid of, Brianna's face because she's so gross. Those sorts of things. You could put that in. I would hope that no one would say that, but maybe. So we put the comment in there and then it feeds through, and everyone else that has that link will also be able to see that comment from this share link. So it can be really good for collaboration if they're outside of your team. So if you are as part of like an agency or someone, or you've got like an internal team that all use Descript, you don't need to share a link like this. You can share it separately. There's other collaboration tools. This is good if you don't have the share capabilities with the person that you're needing to share it with. You can send them this link and do it this way. Yeah, that's really the only reason I ever export like this, is if I need to share it with someone that's outside of our organization. So now we're going to go to an audio export. What does that look like? What are the settings that you might need there? So again, you have a bunch of different options as to how you can export it. YouTube, Blueberry, Buzzsprout, Captivate, etc. And then we've got export options, current composition. We've already been through this. This is the other section here that you might want to know about. So MP3, M4A, or WAV, which is WAV or WAV. The best quality audio that you're going to get is a WAV file, and that is what I recommend as much as possible. But again, the file is slightly bigger. So if you are on a podcast hosting platform that throttles you based on how much you upload, like the data, the amount of data, then that's going to be a problem, because if you've got lots of episodes and they're all WAV files and you're exporting all them and you're uploading to that podcast host or wherever, and you only have some limited data storage, the WAV file will quickly eat up your data storage. MP3 is fine in most cases, because most people are listening on these things, and they might not even have headphones in, and they're just listening like this. People do that. If they do have headphones on, depends on the quality of the actual headphones as to how much of a difference it will make to their listening experience. If it was a music file, I would absolutely say it needs to be a WAV file as much as possible, because it just sounds better. There's so much more information in a music file. So something to be aware of. If it's a podcast episode, something like that, an MP3 is going to be fine. It's going to be crunched anyway on the back end in Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all that as well. So yeah, just do that really. Okay, and then advanced, again, we want to go stereo, 44.1, 128 and -16, and you can put metadata in there as well. Timeline is something that you would use if you wanted to export so that it could then be further edited in a DAW that is your preference. So you can see you've got Pro Tools and Logic files, you've got Audition, Adobe Audition, you've got Final Cut Pro, Premiere, DaVinci Resolve. So if you do like a first pass edit here in Descript, and then you want to do all your motion graphics and all the other fancy things inside of DaVinci or whatever, you've got options here that then actually export it out as that file, which is awesome, because that will save you so much time, because you then have just the file there ready to do further enhancements on from there. So that's what the timeline one means. Okay, and you can see include media files in export. Yes. Skip previously downloaded media files. If it's the first time you've exported this out, then that's fine. If it's not the first time, you don't have to download the files again or export the files again, because you've already exported them the last time you did it. So this is like an update. So then you would switch that off there. Create track for each file. Yes, I would do that. And then Logic compatibility, strip spaces from file names is fine there as well if you were doing it via Logic. Okay. Transcript, the next one over. And again, a feature that I just flippin' love. I love this feature that we can actually just get a full transcript exported from Descript, and it is easy to do. You've got a bunch of different ways to do it. We just do docx's here, but you can see there's other stuff there. You can include markers if you have them. You can include the ignored text if you were wanting to share that text, like that actual transcript, with someone else, and you're like doing edits, and then they can see what you've actually edited out in the transcript. That's a really good feature to have. You can include speaker labels on every paragraph if you like. Again, this is personal preference as to how you want your transcript to actually look. And then the time codes, you can set how often there is actually time codes, page breaks, and the speaker labels and markers and all that sort of thing. So this is a very personal preference type thing. It might take a few times for you to get the actual preference that you like. Like once you export it out, you might be like, oh, okay, I need less time codes, or I need more time codes, or I need less speakers because it's only just one speaker. I don't need speaker labels on everything, etc. So that will be something that is a personal preference, and it might take you a couple of times to get right. Now, if you go to subtitles, then you can see this is just awesome. You can export the actual subtitles out, and then you can upload those to YouTube or to the back end of your podcast platform, or anything that requires or allows you to have closed captions. You can do your closed captions in here. Show speakers, you can do that if you want. We just leave that off. Max characters per line, we have set at 42, and max lines per card is 2. So that is all the different ways that you can actually export out of Descript. They give you a lot of features here, and I know it can be daunting kind of the first time you do it. So hopefully you've learnt what you actually need for your purpose. And if you don't understand still what you need to do, then please leave a comment below.